Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. We are, I have to be honest with you real quick. I'm going to make this short and sweet. I'm not looking forward to reviewing this palette. I'm actually dreading reviewing this palette. And that is not an experience I've ever had before. So, but I am, one thing you guys will learn about me, if you don't already know, if you've been around a while, you know I believe in full transparency, whether it's with me or anyone else, but me in particular. And so let's get this started and I'll explain to you why I have the feelings I do. Haven't seen by the title already, this is what I am referring to. This is yet another collaboration with Morphe, with yet another of the biggest YouTubers in the beauty community, this one being JamesCharles. Well, let's just roll the clip and you'll see kind of where my feelings are coming from a little bit. Roll them.
Next comment comes from Shelbie, and she says, James, you're a doll, but sweetie, and I'm not saying this to be cruel or critical, just the experience of a viewer, of course. It would be much more enjoyable watching if you slow down, way down. You're talking and moving so fast, your energy is so frantic that for low-key people like me, it makes watching you very, very stressful. Your kinetic energy is clearly very high, and I'm sure that you have to exert a lot of effort and energy to slow it down and entertain it, but I assure you it'd make your video so much more enjoyable. Between hyperspeed talking and your fast hand movements featured in camera, it's just a bit much, hun. Again, I'm not saying this to be mean, cruel, or critical, simply to share my experience when watching your videos and give you a little bit of input. Much love to you, Sister Shelbie. Aw, see, this is a really great example of constructive criticism, and I definitely get comments about the speed of my talking a lot, so let me see what I can do to really help you guys out, because I've never want to make my videos hard to watch. Alright guys, so my next step in my beauty routine is going to be the concealer. And for today, I want to use my Tarte Shape Tape in the shade Fair. I'm just going to take the wand and apply it to all of the high points of my face. I am just drawing a triangle right underneath
As you can see, you know, I'm going to be really honest with you guys on this one. Again, complete transparency. I am going to have a difficult time being unbiased in this review. And the reason why, it doesn't just have to do with what you just saw. That is part of it, without a doubt. When it comes to this particular person, I have to be honest with you. I don't like his attitude. I don't like anything about what he's doing right now. It's so difficult because I know this isn't about makeup, but it is about makeup because it's going to affect how I feel. I honest to God have never seen somebody so young that is so egotistical and so lacking in demonstration of gratitude. And when I say demonstration of gratitude, I mean saying thank you is one thing. And I don't even hear that a lot out of his mouth, to be honest with you. Certainly not to the level that you should with the success he's attained. You know, I know he works hard because no matter what, hard work has to be applied or you just don't get anywhere. So I know he's a hard worker. Oh my God, I cannot believe this. I cannot believe this just walked in here. Would you like to show everyone? Because I could use something happy right now. My daughter just hobbled in here with her dog, and they both have matching ugly Christmas sweaters. Actually, you can't see our big dog, but he has one too. Odin, our 95-pound pit bull, he has the identical sweater that those two are wearing right now. Thank you so much for bringing that in here and showing me your beautiful self. And now everybody out. Out! Shut the door. Out! Anyways, so back to this. I know it takes hard work. Okay? I've been there. I'm almost 50 years old. Okay? I get it. You know, I had to work my ass off, you know, the first time I got my first publishing contract. I mean, it takes a lot of work to get where you want to go and succeed. However, for somebody, and I have to apply his age in this because it's his downfall and it could also be his benefit. But for somebody as young as he is, who has so little experience in the industry, and I don't give a rat's ass if he has natural talent or not. There are dues to be paid. And until you pay those dues, you need to take a step back. And that's the problem I have with him. The way I would describe James Charles is ostentatious. He's just overboard in everything. And like, for instance, his response to my comment. Now, up until that point in time, I was a supporter of James Charles. I am no longer. And it's not just because of that. That has partial to do with it. Because you know what? Maybe you guys see it different than I do, but I don't see the comment that I left him as being hateful at all. I was trying to be helpful. I was trying to give him constructive criticism because, as an example, I know I'm much lower key. And I stated it in there. I mean, I'm low key. And watching somebody who's kinetic is, it's not pleasant. To give you an example, I mean, you see the way I talk and the way my movements are and stuff. James is like this. He's just going so fast. He's got his hands up there and he's, you know, flashing the nails around. And he just can't take a breath and he's just 1,000 miles an hour. You know, I mean, that is, he's got to tone that down big time. This doesn't help matters because he's got these long nails on and he's flashing. He's constantly, I get he's a hand talker. I'm a hand talker. A lot of you out there probably are too. I use my hands a lot to talk. But when you're constantly putting your hands up here and doing this, do you see how that comes across? You know, I mean, that's one issue that I was trying to help him with. You know, you may see my hands occasionally pop up when I'm talking and emphasizing a point because I am a hand talker. But you don't see me doing this in the camera, okay? It's very distracting. It's very irritating. And it can be more so for some people than others. Maybe it doesn't bother some people. That and his hyperkinetic, you know, I mean, it's like, ooh, take a tone down a little bit. You know, if he could learn to control that, and that's all I was saying to him, is if you can learn to tone it down a little, you know, meditate before you record or, you know, take a few deep breaths, practice, you know, I mean that, and he used my comment, not only he used it, highlighting it as a hateful comment, but he used it as the top one in his video. Long story short, I was just trying to be constructive. I wasn't in no way, shape, or form trying to be hateful. It pissed me off, quite frankly, that not only he used my comment in a hateful comments video, he mocked what I had to say, and he used it as his breakout one. So you know what happened? Typical of James Charles, he, you know, and other people I see that are large influencers like this, they use their channels as a weapon. And then I get flooded with loads of comments from people. Don't you talk James Charles, blah, blah. You know what? I mean, honest to God, I'm going to blur it out, but okay. So after that, I just said, you know what? Screw you. You don't have any respect at all for, you know, I mean, I don't know. He says, oh, I can take constructive criticism. No, you can't. Clearly you can't. No, you can't take constructive criticism. It's very obvious because, in my opinion, and since I happen to be a writer, doesn't mean I'm 100% right all the time, but I am an author. I know how to write. In my personal opinion, that was constructive criticism, and that is absolutely what it was intended for. It was not meant to be hateful. It was not meant to be condescending. It was not meant to bash him or criticize him. But see, this is the problem, is that he knows those are his weak points, so he's hypersensitive about them. So he took my comment that anybody else probably reading it would have seen it as constructive criticism and saw it as hateful and blasted it all across social media for that purpose. So the fact that I had to entertain a bunch of idiots messaging me hateful comments and stuff, that soured me on him. And his response to my comments soured me on him. So am I supporting JamesCharles? No, I'm not. Am I by purchasing his palette? Yes. Did I purchase more than one? No. Is that the first time that I've ever done that with Morphe? Yes. I will not purchase more of these palettes. I'll let you know that right now. As a matter of fact, let me show you this. Just to give you an idea of some fun, this is what I'm going to be giving away. I figured, you know what? I'm going to start my holiday giveaways on this video. You'll see at the end. I'll have instructions at the end. And yes, this is going to be a long video. I'll try and keep it down, but I got a lot to say. And if you don't want to hear it, I'll have timestamps so that you can skip around. Anyways, in every collaboration, I purchase not only the palette, but I purchase extra of it, whether it's palette or product, whatever, you get the point. As an example, Kathleen Lights. Okay? I have 2 of them here. I purchased, I think, 6 of these, and I gave away, I believe, 3 already when it initially launched. And I saved 2 because I knew, you know, you have them around for a while where they're no longer available, and then you give them away and people love it. And as you guys know, the Morphe Jaclyn Hill Vault, I purchased 6 of these. The original Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette, I purchased 8 of these. I purchased 1 of these. And I didn't even want to do that. The only reason I purchased it is because 1, I want to review it. 2, I want to review it because I got a lot to say about it. I had to have the palette to do that. And 3, I got a lot to say about JamesCharles. So, that is my feeling on, just kind of an overview on my personal feelings on JamesCharles. I think, you know, I think he could be I think he could have a bright future if he adjusts his attitude. If he keeps up with this, you know, I'm the best and everybody bow down to me and this ego, I don't know where the, you know, it's really unfortunate because sometimes this can happen when young people attain success. You can get in your head. And fortunately, when I was younger, for those of you that don't know, I was, you know, when I was younger, I was very heavily in the modeling industry. I was very, very successful from a very young age. As an example, I was Black Velvet's poster girl. You know, I was top drugstore brand. I was one of their most beautiful women of the world. I mean, I was very, very successful. I did print, I did runway, I did shows, I did hair shows, I did everything you can think of. And I was very successful, and I got in my head big time. So I've been there, so I can speak from experience. Fortunately, I had a family that grounded me and brought me back. But I'm telling you, during some of those times, I was being I'll be blunt, I was being a nasty bitch. I was in my head, and I thought I was all that, and, you know, in my personal opinion, that's where I think he's at. And I don't like what I'm seeing. I just don't. It's that simple. And I can't support somebody. I can't get behind somebody and support them and be unbiased about them when I feel this way. And it didn't help, of course, him doing that. That just added to my, you know, my feelings already. So, but let's get going on the palette because I have a lot of things to say about this, and I'm telling you, I'm going to read this one time and one time only, and you'll not hear me say this again because I am so sick of hearing this. I have to be honest. Sisters. Oh, God, I feel sorry for all the sisters out there who have to say on a daily basis, this is my sister. He has taken a word that is so special and just, I am so sick and tired of hearing sister this and sister that and sister this and sister that. Now that may sound catty of me. I don't care. I'm just sick of hearing it. I get it's your slogan. I get it's your, your catchphrase and stuff. But my God, talk about overkill. Let's get into this before I say anything else that I can only imagine what my comment section is going to be like in this video. You saw the outside of the box there, and of course it's nice that it does come in bubble wrap. Morphe's been doing that, which I appreciate. The palette is, this is what I don't get, because to me this does not say JamesCharles at all. The palette is as boring and as flat as you can get. Now see, if this was me, I would not have done this, because your name, especially in what he's doing, is everything. Somebody holds this palette up where they're out with their friends or over at a friend's house, or they're out working in makeup artistry and maybe they use this palette. You can't see his name. Nothing. Why do everything black? That's not a smart marketing decision. That's just my opinion. Most people aren't going to be packing this around. This is the only thing. I mean, look, he's got his self plastered all over here. It's very obvious who it is when you look at this. No. So, but you know what? I guess he wanted to be sleek and cool and matte black, even though nobody can tell this is his palette once they take it out of the box, because it is all matte black other than the writing when you catch the light. And then you open it up. Oh, and look what we have here. Okay, now, again, I'm just going to rant on this because I have things to say and I'm going to say them. I haven't heard a damn person out there say anything, and yet I will post. I'll just put a few of them up here in the corner while I'm talking so you guys can see this. Because I watched a video by that girl Shay. Really like her. She's a character. Anyways, I'll put her information up here too for you guys if you want to check her out. She reviewed this palette, and I just felt in the end that in watching her video the same way I did in watching almost every other video out there that's been done on this palette, is that people, James this, James said this, James said do that, James said do this, James said do that. That's what I've heard in almost every video on this palette. I wrote that in, again, you'll see it, what my comment was. I received a flood of responses saying, I agree, I agree, I agree, I agree. Matter of fact, to the time I'm recording this, that I can recall, there was not one negative response to my comment. But, last time I looked was a couple days ago when I received another, I agree. And that is this. If any other company, artist, collaborator, whatever, came out with a palette and said, you have to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G to use it and make it work, people would be outraged. Outraged. They would flip. What's everyone doing with JamesCharles palette? JamesCharles says do this. JamesCharles says do that. JamesCharles says use MAC paint pot. I went out and bought it. What the fuck? Excuse my language, but are you kidding me? You know why? I'll give you 10 million reasons why. I'm not going to be one of those 10 million reasons. Okay? I don't care that he's got 10 million plus subscribers at his back. I'm going to give you an honest opinion on this, and my honest opinion is this is jack shit. Because I'm telling you, I can cite too many examples to count, but let's give one anybody in the beauty industry knows. Anastasia Beverly Hills Subculture. Okay? When that palette came out, and people were having problems with it, Norvina, if I remember, I'm not quoting, this is just off memory, if I remember correctly, said that it had to be applied in a certain way for it to work because it was such a highly pigmented, pigmented shadow, blah, blah, blah. People flip their fucking rockers. Watch the reviews. I mean, just watch them. One after the other, after the other, after the other. Influencers saying, you mean to tell me I can't just pick this palette up and just use it like a normal eyeshadow palette? Why should I have to learn to apply my eyeshadow a different way to make this eyeshadow palette work? Watch Stephanie Nicole's video. She talks about it. For Christ's sake, huge brand. People flipped their rockers and attacked ABH over that. And that's just one of many examples. So the fact that this kid is saying, not only do you have to use, that he recommends you use MAC Paint Pot on it, but that you pat these on, and then after they're patted on and built up, then go in and blend it. Are you fucking kidding me? And not a single person out there is saying, hey, wait a minute, what the hell? Let's not get started on the fact that brings me into the pigments issue with this. Given the fact that so many of these actual eyeshadows are pigments, there's this big Hi Sisters blurb on here. Fuck, I said it again. But is there a blurb on here that says these are not eye safe, these are pigments, not recommended for eye use, blah, blah, blah? No, what they did is they put this little itty bitty, I'll try and zoom in on it. You know, down here there's an eye, and then it has the names of the shadow, and then there's this little itty bitty eye that has the X through it and the names of them. In other words, we're supposed to not only read this shit, but we're supposed to know that one means you can go on the eye and the other doesn't. Well, what about people who are consumers in Ulta who just happen to purchase this and haven't watched this video and gotten all of his instructions, and they have no clue that some of these are pigments, some of them aren't. They don't, you know, I mean, come on. And they try using this palette like a regular eyeshadow palette. I could go on and on. I'm not going to, because it just pisses me off. So he comes out with this palette, and of course, you know, he's got to come out with the most pigmented thing ever. So he's got to do pigments. Can't just do an eyeshadow palette so everybody and their mother can use it in a normal way, the way normal people apply eyeshadow. No, we got to use a eye primer, recommend MAC Paint Pot, and then we have to pat them on before we blend them in. Well, I'm going to try that. But on top of that, there's no clear marcation on that package like other brands have that have released pigments that say they're not eye safe. And by the way, my understanding of it is the reason that they're not eye safe is because the pigments stain the skin. Anything that causes a change in the skin, even though it's temporary, you know, it causes an alteration in the skin, the color of the skin. That's why the FDA doesn't approve them. Anyways, but moving along with the palette, again, this is something, and this tells me how biased some people are being in this. Do you know how many reviews I've watched where people pick this up and go, why can't they put the names on the palette? Here, he's got an opportunity and certainly room to put the names on the palette. So what's he do? He puts a cheap piece of plastic in here with names on them. Do I hear anybody talking about it on this palette? No. And on top of it, oh, guess what? I sure wish they'd put a mirror in here. They got plenty of room to put a mirror. Did he put a mirror? No, he's got, again, invisible writing. Unleash your inner artist. Whatever. As if it's not bad enough. I mean, you can tell my opinion on this whole thing is stupid. As if this isn't bad enough. Did he even bother to put a little P anywhere on these? No! So, guess what? If I want to use this palette since, oh, I don't know, he didn't, you know, I don't know, think ahead and maybe, you know, put the pigments down here and the eyeshadows up here, or put a P on here or a P on here so that we actually know which ones the pigments are. No, the only way we can find out which ones the pigments are, since those have to be applied differently than the eyeshadows, is to go to the box where this little marky eyeball X thing is. Read the name, then go to this stupid ass thing, read the name, and try and find it on here. Okay, sorry, but I just have a problem with it. A big problem. Because if any other brand did this, they'd be torn to filth. Torn asunder, as I would normally write. People are not doing that. No, they're going, JamesCharles says this, and JamesCharles says this, and JamesCharles says that. Are you, hello? Are you a reviewer, or are you a mouthpiece for JamesCharles? I'm not a mouthpiece for JamesCharles. I wouldn't be even if he hadn't done that, because I think this is as biased as it comes. I know that I have told you I'm biased right now, so it's probably making my emotion a little bit more hot than it would be, but it's not changing my feelings on this, because I cannot count over the last 4 years that I've been on YouTube how many brands, influencers, etc. I have seen torn to pieces over doing exactly what he did. And not only, I mean, he's done it all in this. He's done every faux pas in this palette that every other influencer's been torn apart for just missing one of the things. You know, don't put these sheets in there, put the names on. He's got the sheet in here, no names on it. No delineation or separation of the pigments in here, even though they have to, it's recommended you apply them differently. There's no mirror in here. There's no nothing. It's as basic and bland as it comes. So, you know what? And it's $39 to boot. Now, let's talk about the actual colors. Is it pretty? Yes, I like the structure of this. This is pleasing to my eye. I've talked about many times how, you know, I'm a Capricorn. I like things structured. This is very easy for me to understand in that it's from light to dark and rainbow formation, if you will. So I like the layout of it. I do not like the fact, though, that the pigments are interspersed with the eyeshadows. I would have much rather he, you know, used this big line of big shadows here that to me are absolutely useless that they're that big. I would have much rather, to be honest with you, had all the shadows the same size, had more room in here, and him put the names on it, and put the pigments down on one side and the eyeshadows up above on the other, and uses neutrals as the ground base of breaking the two apart. Because you know what? There is no other way, unless I take the time to read the names on there, on the box, saying what the pigments are, then find the name on here, associate it with the shadow, and then put a little mark on here and draw on it. I have no way of knowing what's a pigment and what's an eyeshadow. I don't like that. It's just, especially for, you know, when I review products, remember, I'm reviewing for the average consumer. If this was just a product that was available at Morphe, I probably wouldn't even think twice about it, because quite honestly, most people that shop at Morphe are shopping there because they watch YouTube and they've got influencers driving the business in there. Be honest about it. They're going to know who this is and probably have watched his video. But the fact is, this is in Ulta stores as well, and other stores in the UK if I'm not mistaken. So it is available to the general populace and therefore should be treated as such and reviewed as such. So to me, he missed the boat on this in terms of labeling, in terms of, you know, I mean, I know it's all done for profit. I remember that mirror in there, even though it probably would have only cost 25 cents or 50 cents to put a damn mirror in it. You know, it would have taken away, even if it took $1 to put a mirror in there, that's $1 less profit. You know, printing the names on it costs money, it's less profit. But you know what? I'll tell you, it's one thing, and this is one thing I tell my kids all the time, and I'll never forget this as long as I live. Since I started in the publishing industry, for those of you who read paranormal romance, her name is Laura Adrian. And she is my mentor. I adore her. Anyways, long story short, there's one piece of advice she gave me that sticks with me to this day, and I tell my kids, I tell anybody and everybody I can because I think it's so important, and that is, she told me, take as much time as you need to on that first novel. Take as much time as you need writing it, take as much time as you need editing it, revising it, everything. Take everything you've got and take all the time and put it into it, because everybody remembers your first. It doesn't matter if you go on to become the #1 New York Times bestseller, everybody remembers your first. Everybody judges against your first. So if I was James Charles, I would have taken that into consideration when I devised this palette. And I personally, if it were me in his shoes, I would have rather taken a couple dollars less profit, especially since he's already making millions of dollars a year. I would have rather taken less profit on this particular product and done it right. Put a mirror in, print the names on it. But that's just my opinion, because you know what? This is his first, and he is always going to be judged against this palette. He has set what his standard is going to be with this palette. So let's see how it performs, shall we?